Fox News getting an exclusive look, meanwhile, at immigration checks at construction sites across Florida. Officials say the men arrested this week are just the beginning. Dana Marie McNichol is live in Orlando for us. How did ICE agents, Dana Marie, know that those illegal immigrants were working at these sites?
Hey, Sandra, good afternoon. Good question. Well, an investigation was opened after tips came in from in and around the area of the Villages. This is the world's largest retirement community. So we joined ICE agents as they arrived unannounced to housing construction sites.
We're talking to everybody out here. Are you a citizen of the U.S.?
Now, agents moved from house to house approaching workers. ICE described the interaction as a consensual and optional conversation since they did not have a warrant. Agents questioned their legal status, and those who couldn't provide valid immigration documents were fingerprinted on site. This is part of a process to verify identities through a national immigration database. ICE says they opened an investigation after concerns from community members.
We've received a lot of tip line reporting on the, hiring practices of a lot of companies in the area, and so that's what we're doing today. We're obtaining a lot of license plates, company names, to be able to follow up on. A lot of investigations are going to launch as a result of today's actions.
This marks the first worksite enforcement operation of its kind in the state of Florida. Officials made it clear it will not be the last. Most workers complied with officers' requests, but over 30 ran away. According to HSI Tampa, agents talked to 361 construction workers yesterday, but arrested 33. 4 have a felony for coming back to the U.S. after being deported. And back out here live, Sandra, ICE says the next step is to open an investigation into the companies that hired those who were arrested.
And when ICE said they're going to investigate, that they did. And wait till you see what they found and how it's affecting Americans. Let's go. Hey there, Patriots. This is True Outlaw Patriot coming at you with another one. The video that I'm dropping, it's something that a lot of people are not talking about, and that is how companies are, how can I say, are being investigated for hiring so many illegal migrants, and how the mainstream media is trying to turn all this around, making it seem like, you know what, the more illegal migrants that they deport, the harder it's going to be on Americans when it comes to certain sectors in our workforce industry, like farming and hotels and stuff like that. What they won't tell you is something that I'm going to show you that came out about a day ago, and I've only seen it, in all honesty, on one channel, and it was just a video short, so I did a little bit of investigating. And it seems like it's out there, the news, but nobody wants to talk about it because it totally goes against the mainstream media and the left's narrative of them telling people that if you get rid of all the illegals, nobody's going to want to cover those jobs. We're going to get to that. There's a few things we got to cover, but before I continue, I just want to thank all my new subscribers and all my subscribers here on YouTube and on Rumble. So don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, and pass the channel around. With that being said, let's get into this video clip, and there's a couple of things I got to show you, which is what every American should be seeing on the news, because in my opinion, it'll start lifting up people's spirits in order to say, you know what, we got this, we can change this, and we don't have to leave everything up to President Trump for him to fix. We have to do our part. But check this out, here we go.
Immigration crackdown continues in Cocoa. These pictures show ICE agents and Brevard County deputies taking landscapers and construction crews into custody. Fox 35's Esther Bauer spoke with someone who witnessed these raids.
We spoke with a woman who works here at this apartment complex on Clear Lake Road. On Tuesday, she says ICE agents moved in and arrested several people who were working on a construction job. She tells us this isn't the first time the agency's been spotted in the area.
That's crazy.
Here you can see a worker getting cuffed outside the leasing office with multiple sheriff and immigration vehicles on scene in Cocoa.
Nobody should be fearful of living day to day in their homes or going to work.
Amaya Ruiz is concerned about the arrests and says it's not the first time she's seen authorities questioning people in and around the area.
They were asking their documentations, basically racially profiling.
It's unclear how many people were taken into custody on Tuesday, but at least one vehicle was towed away from the complex.
Brevard County Sheriff's has also teamed up with Immigration Services.
Sheriff's deputies and ICE agents were also spotted a few weeks ago on State Road 520 and Blake Avenue. Another worker was cuffed. When employees are arrested like this, legal experts say their employers can also face consequences.
If you're an employer and you hire undocumented workers, illegal workers, then there is a fine that's going to be assessed.
Carlos Martin.
And you know what, folks? And that's the way it should be, and that's the way it should always be. Okay? It really upsets me that you have people like that woman that was talking saying that they're racially profiling. And that is one of the biggest problems that we have right now in America, that we're trying to get rid of as many migrants that came across the border illegally and trying to catch the criminals at the same time because of Biden's border policies. And you're still going to have people out there knowing that there's crime out there because of what's going on, making it seem like it's racial profiling. Okay, on the last video clip, it shows how many people they arrested, how many ran away. I mean, you hear it all the time. They'll go to some business and some people will stay and a bunch of them will flee. Why is that? Because they know that they should not be in this country, number one. And number two, they should not be taking these jobs that supposedly Americans don't want. But we're going to put an end to all that in a few. Bear with me. Let's continue.
And says Florida has laws on the books to keep businesses from hiring undocumented workers. Large companies have to verify someone's legal status, but small businesses could fall through.
For employers that have more than 25 employees, they have to do mandatory e-verify, okay, to make sure that they're not hiring undocumented workers.
With workers detained on the job, Central Florida lawmakers are worried about families knowing where they are.
This bill is a step towards pulling back the curtain on our immigration detention system.
On Wednesday, Congressman Maxwell Frost introduced a new bill requiring ICE agents and local law enforcement to publicly report who's being detained, where they're being held, and why they're there. The Speaker of the House says he's more worried about ICE agents having the resources to make more arrests.
It's a patriotic duty. They're understaffed. They're overwhelmed with the workload. They're trying to go after the dangerous criminal illegal alien.
And the witness tells us she did try to contact some of the workers' families after the arrest. Reporting in Cocoa.
Okay, you're trying to contact the workers' families. Now you have this guy in Florida, and this is why I always keep telling people, especially in Florida, we need to vote out all these leftists, all these Democrats, these Marxists, socialists. You got to vote them out. Okay, they over here want ICE to put out, memos on who was detained and why, and this is the case and that. Listen, if you're here in the country illegally, that right there, case in point, is a reason for them to pick you up and just kick you back out. That's it. There's no more beating around the bush on this bullshit. Enough with the bullshit. They're obviously being picked up and they're being sent back. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, what about the ones that have been here for 30 years? Well, I don't know, but if you've been here for 30 years, okay, and you don't have a paper trail showing that you've been trying to keep up with all your appointments and you're waiting on the government to make you a citizen, then you know what? That means that you didn't try. You came here, you went to a sanctuary city, you got complacent, you let 30 years go by, you got married, you started a family, which you probably shouldn't have until you had your residency, okay? But you took it upon yourself not to finish up and take the right steps to become an American citizen. It's just the bottom line. That's it. Okay? But these people make it seem like, oh, you know, it's racial, you're going after people, whatever the case is. They're picking up all kinds of people. It just so happens, whether you people in the Latin community want to fucking believe it or not, because I'm very pissed off about it, and there's a reason why. I said it in a video months ago, if not a year ago, but something just came up again, but I'll get to that. It's because the majority of people that came illegally across the border are from Latin-speaking countries. Okay? And they embed themselves in Latin communities. And not only do they embed themselves in Latin communities, they steal Latin identities. And we're hearing more and more of it, of a lot more of these people from Latin America who have come here illegally with stolen ID. A guy from Mexico or Venezuela or Honduras is not going to steal an Irish man's ID. He's not going to try to get off as a Patrick O'Malley. Okay? So when they're stealing identities, who do you think, whose identity you think they're stealing? Oh yeah, that's right. People like us, like my identity was stolen when I was living in Florida. Okay? By an illegal migrant that came in and he was wanted for multiple crimes. One of them was arson. And the sheriff's department came knocking on my door, handcuffed my ass. Okay? And the only thing that saved me, and I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again before we continue, was the fact that the sheriff's deputy was smart enough to look into my wallet, and regardless of the ID that I had, that immigration thought it wasn't good enough, the one piece of ID, which was my concealed carry permit, is what saved my ass. And the sheriff's deputy, thank you, noticed it and said, this is not the guy we're looking for. There's no way he can have this ID. It's a federally issued ID. Okay? But when you got people like that woman talking about, oh, they're racial profiling, really? It has to be race, right? Meanwhile, the illegal criminals that are committing crimes, they're pretty much attacking anybody they want. Spanish, white, black, it doesn't matter. Cop, no cop, it doesn't matter. Okay? But I'm not going to get too upset on it because we got a lot more to cover. Let's get to the next video clip. Here we go. Okay, now you see these little pricks throwing rocks at these cars? These are ICE agents going into a meatpacking processing plant in Omaha, Nebraska. Okay, because they know why they're going. They're going there to raid the place of all the illegal migrants that are working there. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but this has been on the news. Okay, but the news is trying to keep it hush-hush. So now you got these kids, whoever it is, thinking that they're emboldened enough to go and just throw rocks that can basically bust through a window, smack somebody in the head and kill them. And this is okay. This is the way these protesters do it. Or these people that feel that, you know what, that they're freaking entitled to be in this country. Okay? And we're seeing it more and more on TikTok, on Twitter, X, on Instagram, on all social media platforms, where you have all these people taking the sides of these illegals and making all these comments that America is not great, and we just come here to make the money and go back, as if they're entitled. Listen, if you don't like it here, get the hell out. We don't need you here. Our concern is not your problems in your country are not the average person's concern. Okay? Everybody's got to deal with their own country in their own way. You deal with your country in your way, well, guess what? Now you're in America, we got to deal with it our way. And if you don't like it, nobody invited you here. Just leave. Look at that. For no damn reason whatsoever. There you go. Then they're gonna run.
Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, bitch, get the fuck out of here, pussy. Come on. Get the fuck out of here. Come on. Bitch. What you finna do, pussy ass bitches?
Unbelievable. All right, we're going to speed it up a bit. But, I mean, well, actually, you know what? We're going to cut out of this. But you already see what's going on. This is what was happening when they wanted to raid that meatpacking place. Okay? Now we're going to go to... we're going to go to this video real quick and jump over. Oh, hold on 1 second. Right here. Here we go.
Those workplace raids are happening elsewhere in the country, and CBS News has learned ICE agents detained some 1,600 illegal migrants on Tuesday. In Omaha, immigration enforcement agents targeted dozens of suspected undocumented workers at a large meatpacking facility. CBS's Ian Lee is there tonight with the latest on those arrests.
Is everybody here employees?
A sense of fear grips this tight-knit community.
Bring your paperwork with you.
Show your ass.
After ICE raided this meatpacking plant in Omaha, Nebraska.
The looks on everybody's faces, it was just scared, crying.
Supervisor Stephanie Favila was in the morning meeting when agents entered Glen Valley Foods, arresting more than 70 migrants, including 3 of her family members.
How is this for you?
It's hard, because they just call me asking info about my cousins, and I don't know anything. I don't know if they're going to get deported. I don't know if they're good. I just don't know anything.
The men and women detained are suspected of being in the U.S. illegally. ICE says it's Nebraska's largest worksite immigration roundup in President Trump's second term.
This does impact our community, and it does create fear.
John Ewing Jr. has been the mayor of Omaha since Monday.
Okay, I'm going to cut it real quick. You heard what he said. This impacts the community and it generates fear. Keep that in mind.
He says he doesn't support workplace raids.
We want to ensure that people are treated fairly and that they have due process in the course of these things.
The raids have sparked protests in Omaha. Supporters say those arrested were hardworking people, not criminals. Immigrant law firm Sierra is helping to find those taken. Eric Omar is the executive director.
When 100 people are ripped out of the community, it sows chaos, it stokes fear, businesses shut down, people stop going to work.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. You heard what he said. You heard what they said, right? Everything's a problem. It puts fear in the community. Businesses shut down. Nobody wants to go to work. Really? And you hear everybody, I mean, and it's been going on for years, even on The View, when Kelly Osbourne made that stupid ass remark about, Donald Trump, if they start getting rid of illegal immigrants, who's going to wash the toilets and stuff like that. So it's okay for them to use all kinds of racial slander, making it seem as if that's all people are capable of doing if they go into a country illegally. Okay? But I mean, everybody knows The View is nothing but, it's just one dingbat after another that they hire. But you have all these protesters, all these people saying, it's going to impact the community. Yeah, it's going to impact the community. Okay? It started impacting the community when the government was letting people into the country illegally and they were flooding communities and taking away jobs and pushing people aside. But they don't want you to believe that. To them, that's like, no, that's not true. They actually brought more to the community. Really? They did? Okay. For sake of time and editing, let's come across something over here, okay, that a lot of people won't talk about. Let me see. Where do we start? Well, that company was Glen Valley Foods, okay, out in Nebraska, in Omaha. Let me see. A couple of articles came up that nobody wants to talk about, okay. This one is put out by MSN, okay, and it says, left's immigration narrative crushed by what happened at Nebraska meatpacking plant immediately after the ICE raid. That's the first part. I'll come back to this. But let's get to this article here put up by Blaze. Do we see the meatpacking place here? Do we see all the different diverse people? Huh? Yeah, okay. After ICE removes illegal workers, job applicants flood meatpacking plant to replace them. But wait a minute. I thought by illegal immigrants being, rated at workplaces, it was going to shut down businesses and it was going to basically, make communities drop. Oh, really? Okay. Let's get into this. In Nebraska, several businesses say their sales went down after dozens of illegal aliens were detained by ICE. What to say here? A raid on a meatpacking plant in Nebraska has caused a surge in job applications following the apprehension of 76 employees who were detained and removed from the premises by federal authorities. After just a few days, a dozen illegal workers had already been removed from the state or deported, while more than 60 were taken to a detention center, NBC News reported. See, NBC News reported that, but you didn't hear about it that much, did you? Only on the aspect of, let's feel sorry for all these people and what America's doing and what President Trump's doing and all that. It's racist and it's unjust, and companies will shut down if you take the workers off construction sites, if you take them out of meatpacking facilities, if you take them out of restaurants and hotels. It's going to make the economy collapse. Really? If that's the case, why are so many people lining up for these jobs at a meatpacking place? Oh, maybe because they're Americans and they were overlooked? Maybe it was because rumor went around but nobody really wanted to talk about it, that a lot of these companies that actually supported Joe Biden were making deals with the Biden regime to start laying people off by the thousands. Americans, we heard about it a lot. They kept blaming Trump and his economy when he was president. But it's funny how these companies were able to still stay open on the backs of illegal migrants. Really? Let's continue. It says what happened after the Immigration and Customs Enforcement raid, though defied a settlement, whatever, that has permeated across the country, that no American wants the jobs that illegal workers perform. Really? People tend to forget that before there was illegals here helping out on all these big farms, farmers had their family and friends working. Okay? Only after, deals like NAFTA and stuff like that, and just basically brain rotting American children, only after they accomplished that did we see a surge of illegal migrants really come into the country. And why? Because the powers that be from within have been planning this for decades to basically take out American pride from America and just embed it with 140 different mindsets from all these countries that most of them feel entitled, like they belong here, like they're entitled to the jobs. And then their excuse is, because Americans are lazy, they don't want the jobs. Well, when you start undercutting them, raising prices, and then putting in their heads that, they don't need any of that, they need welfare is what they need, what the hell you think's going to happen? But let's continue. As Glen Valley Foods mourned the loss of what the company called family members, referring to illegal employees, prospective employees banged on the doors looking to fill the roles that the company itself said were very hard to hire for. How hard can it be, okay, if you have that woman come out and say that 3 of her cousins worked at the company, she spoke English, they obviously, her 3 cousins got picked up and taken away. How hard can it be when you have people inside the factory hiring their own relatives that are coming to this country illegally? That's number one. How hard can it be to hire people if most of the people you hire don't even speak a lick of English? How hard can it be? It's obviously not that hard. Oh, I know what's hard. What's hard is that, you're a multi-million-dollar company, okay? You want to keep the money flowing for your investors, okay, your stockholders. So what you'll do, you'll go and you'll hire workers that if they don't work for less than what an American worker will work for, what they'll do in return is work way longer hours just to keep that money train going, just to defy the Department of Labor rules when it says you need to give your workers 15-minute breaks, half-hour breaks, whatever the case is. As a matter of fact, one of the videos that I watched when they did this raid, okay, which is something that a lot of people won't show you because ICE is heartless, was a woman. Now, I don't know why, or I shouldn't say why. I don't know how long the woman was working when they did the raid on this factory, but you see one of the ICE workers massaging her hands because her hands were so ice cold. Now, was it because she hid in one of the freezers? Who knows? Or was it just maybe that she was working long hours that day around frozen food and cold food and refrigerators, and she didn't have a break to freaking warm up her own hands? Okay? You know, it really, really kills me that even people that are here legally, that are trying to get their relatives here or come here illegally, that they would even push them to go through those conditions. Okay? So with this article being said, let's minimize that. Let's go back here. Okay? Read some of this, and there's like one or two more clips I think I have to show you. It says, establishment elites love cheap labor. They always have, thus the establishment media routinely gaslights readers and viewers about illegal immigration, a prime source of cheap labor. Now and then, however, even the establishment media cannot help accidentally telling the truth. On Sunday, for instance, in the opening paragraph of a story meant to evoke pathos for the victims of last week's Immigration and Customs Enforcement raid on the Glen Valley Foods meat packing plant in Omaha, Nebraska, which netted 75 illegal immigrants, NBC News inadvertently undermined the leftist establishment's entire immigration narrative. Every seat in the waiting room area of Glen Valley Foods was occupied with people filling out job applications early Thursday afternoon, 2 days after the threat, after the meat packing plant became the center of the target worksite immigration raid in the state of Nebraska. So far this year, the opening paragraph read, in other words, Americans stood ready to fill jobs. Okay? Hitherto occupied by illegal immigrants. You see that? Democrats told us it would not happen. Then again, Democrats also fought a civil war in an effort to keep their slaves. So Democrats, the party of elitism, will always fight for the cheap labor. Meanwhile, on the social media platform X, President Donald Trump's allies highlighted the NBC's story's first paragraph. And here it is. Okay? Every seat in the waiting area of Glen Valley Foods was occupied with people filling out job applications early Thursday afternoon, 2 days after the meat market plant became the center of the largest worksite immigration raid in the state. But no. See, this is why I keep telling people, and I'll keep repeating it. The Democrats contradict themselves and they eat themselves. And they have tens of thousands of people around this country in all states protesting and protesting and protesting. Okay? Protesting for illegals to stay here. Meanwhile, all those people protesting, most of them probably don't have a damn job. Okay? So they can care less about work. But instead of thinking just a little bit clearly for 5-10 minutes and think, well, wait a minute. If we're fighting to keep 10 million people in this country who came in here illegally, that, let's just put it a 1-for-1. That is 10 million jobs that need to be filled, that they need to find, and 10 million places to live. You would think they would just think for a minute and say, wait a minute, how is that sustainable? But they don't think like that. Because they're just as stupid as this news outlet, a leftist news outlet, to put something out and totally step on their own tail and be like, oops, be like, yeah, exactly. Okay? Because you people don't think all you know how to do is badmouth Americans. Come out and say that we're lazy. Come out and say that we don't want those jobs. And then at the same time come out and say that America is racist, that America is fascist. Yeah, you got that right. But all that racism and fascism is coming from the left. It's coming from the majority on the left. They try to make people have so much self-guilt. Okay, then now the new phrase is that all these protests are pushing out. What is it? Silence is murder, or silence is something like that. In other words, that if you stay quiet, if you're not for all these protests, you're part of the problem. It's ridiculous. It's like, why would I want to be part of a protest that is taking away American jobs and living areas? I mean, it's just taking away so many resources. Why would I want to be part of that? I'm not silent about it, but I'm not saying what you want me to say. I am saying the opposite. That there are people out there looking for good jobs. People want to work in factories, especially good paying factories, factories that give them benefits and incentives, something that they could retire on. I worked in a factory when I was younger, out in Queens, New York. Okay? There was guys there working, finishing up to get their back pensions, or to finish up to get their pensions after working 20, 25 years only. Okay? That's a drop in the bucket to get a full pension working at a factory. Even if you're 40 years old, you're still good if you do that. Because that means you retire and get factory pension at 60, and at 65 wind up getting whatever other pension. But when you're giving these jobs away to people from other countries that haven't put a dime, that don't deserve these jobs, and then you're telling Americans that, you know what, you're just racist because you don't want to help them, what do you think's going to happen? You expect people to have sympathy? We're not. There's not going to be no sympathy. I'm not saying I don't have sympathy for my fellow human being. Of course I have sympathy. Of course I have sympathy that they're going through hard times in their countries. Okay? But just a quick story before I get to the next one. When I was a kid, okay, and we had to, and this has nothing to do against Dominicans or anything like that. There was a big influx of Dominicans coming into the Bronx. Okay? A major influx. Okay? And a lot of them said they were leaving the Dominican Republic, you know, for better opportunity to be citizens of America because it was better opportunities. Okay. What was one of the things that they had a problem with? Oh, that the power and the water is owned by the government, and whenever the workers go on strike, everything shuts down, so now they have no power and no water. It can go on for days, weeks, who knows? Okay. So now they're in America. Fast forward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I will hear the same arguments. Another water shortage in Santo Domingo. Another blackout in Santo Domingo. Why? Because of the same conditions. Listen, the problem isn't that when people come out and say, oh, that America has taken away from so many countries. I advise everybody, go on the government website, our American government website. Go to the section of the money that is given to all these countries around the world. Look at all the South American countries. They give them billions. America, we give them billions upon billions of tax-paying dollars. Where is that money going? To who is it going to? It's not that we're there. Because even if we are there and we say, you know what, we want this piece of land, but we're going to give your government $20 billion. Why isn't the government spreading that money amongst the people? Oh, you know why? Because those politicians don't give a flying rat's ass about their people. So they'll just as much as say, we don't care, leave. Go take some more. Go work. Now go work. Send money back to your families, because the money that the government gave us that we should have allocated to our people, we don't want you to have that money. So where does the problem lie in all this? I'll tell you where it lies. It lies with the governments, plural, excuse me, and it lies with the people. And us as Americans, we don't want to end up like those people in other countries that are fleeing. So that battle is yours. Okay, because if I don't know what my government is doing with the money, with my taxpayer money, and they're sending it out to Venezuela, and Venezuela is using it just so they can go and fight some other country for their oil, something a lot of people don't talk about, but Biden was in on that. Think about it. Why so many Venezuelans are here, and criminals at that. Do some research. Okay? Why aren't all those Venezuelan men out there doing that? No, because they said, we're going to keep this money. You can just go to another country and go rob and cheat and steal and murder and rape. They don't care. So my thing is this. Do I care about humanity? Yes. Do I care about what's going on in their country? To a certain point. But do I care enough to come out and put myself out of home and room and board and food? No. Sorry. Nobody's doing it for me. And on top of the fact, why should I have somebody else protesting, saying that they're doing this just to give them more of what I got without my consent? Not going to happen. But let's continue so we can wrap this up. What was the next thing I wanted to show you guys? Just right quickly, this was put up. I don't want to play that by Cash Jordan. We did that one. Just one more. I think I got it. It should be right. It should be this one right here. If it is, I'll play it. If not, we'll just end it. But check this out. Here we go.
As the president digs in on tariffs,
jobs and factories will come roaring back into our country.
Ridicule pouring in on social media, with memes going viral. We don't know where exactly they're coming from, but this one, an AI-generated video crudely showing Americans doing factory labor, raising the question, is a manufacturing renaissance in the United States possible? And would it provide jobs that people here want?
If we mean sending us back to that world in which manufacturing was a third of U.S. employment, there's just no way that would happen.
Could we? Why not? Right away, you got the naysayers. That's not going to happen. We just seen that people lined up to go get the jobs at the meat packing facility in Nebraska. But when you got people like him and people like Barack Obama, the bum that he was and that he still is, telling people years ago when he was president, when they were asking about all the manufacturing jobs coming back, and he was like, those jobs are gone, we're not going to get them back. What the hell? How do you expect people to think?
We reindustrialize the economy and add millions of working class jobs? Absolutely.
Clearly plenty of disagreement. So what would it take? Let's rewind to the 1970s. Back then, nearly 20 million people in the United States made their livings from manufacturing, accounting for more than a fifth of total employment.
Now look at this. From 1950, it just went up and up and up. Look at right here, 1980. Look how high that was. Okay? And it stayed up and stayed up even, I mean, it just up, and then what happened? Started dropping. Started dropping. Okay? Why? Started going back up around, let's say, well, it started going up around 2010. But if you look at 2015 up to 2020, we were on a rise, and then it just dropped. And I know what people are going to say. COVID, whatever. That was a mixture. The Democrats, COVID, and the powers that be. That's just basically it. Now people will say, well, it started going back up again. Because when you're bringing in 10, 15 million illegals, they're going to start taking jobs. That is not bringing up the economy for the average American. It's the Americans that have to fill those jobs. And another little fun fact. Every single time, and I only did some research, but you guys can look into it. Every single time Biden was saying, oh, that we put in, we created 2 million more jobs. Okay? Now stats are coming out that is somewhat true. But they were government jobs. Nothing to do with the middle class man. Nothing to do with the poor household. Just jobs in Washington. So how do those jobs affect people outside of Washington, that affect just construction workers, whatever the case is? It didn't. That's why so many people were crying and complaining when Doge went in and said, wait a minute, we're going to shut down a lot of these programs because these are just wasteful government jobs. Let's continue.
The U.S. was a leading producer of everything from cars to planes to steel.
So it was a really big deal for the U.S. economy. And what made it an especially big deal is that those jobs paid really good wages, and that allowed workers with just a high school degree or not even a high school degree to attain a middle-class lifestyle.
Look at
that. But then globalization, starting in the 80s, NAFTA in the 90s, China joining the World Trade Organization at the turn of the century. It all shocked this.
Oh, wow. What was that? Globalization, NAFTA, China. Who has mentioned those things time and time and time again that they were bad for America? That's right. Your president, Donald J. Trump, talked about the globalization of work, talked about NAFTA. He mentions it all the time. Bad deal. It should have never happened. Okay? And China. We got to stop giving China all the production jobs. We got to do production here in America. Biden didn't talk about it. Obama didn't talk about it. Bush didn't talk about it. Clinton was down for NAFTA. Okay. Is anybody understanding any of this? Are any of you boneheaded lefties understanding any of this? This is not Fox putting this out. This is MSNBC putting this out.
System. Cheaper labor abroad meant lower prices and closed factories here.
What we call the China trade shock.
Now manufacturing employs only about 8% of the nation's workers. And to give you a sense of the wage gap, on average, manufacturing jobs make $35 an hour now. In Vietnam, for example, that rate is about $1.20. Many economists who study these massive trends are skeptical about the ability of tariffs to turn back time.
We want to think about how to create good jobs for the workers of the future. We should be having a substantial focus on how we do that in the service sectors that are vibrant now and that are likely to emerge in the coming years.
But many in the domestic manufacturing industry believe in what President Trump is doing.
We are now, I would argue, in a bipartisan era that tariffs are an important tool in the toolbox for industrial strategy and to reshore domestic production.
He acknowledges we won't be able to make things as cheaply as they do in China or many other countries, but thinks the job creation is worth it. However, many of the manufacturing jobs of old were dangerous, dirty, and difficult. Across the...
It doesn't matter. We still did it. We built bridges and skyscrapers, okay, with no harnesses. If a man or a woman is going to go out there in America, it's called pride. If they're going to go out there, it's called responsibility. If they're going to go out there, it's because they know that they're obligated to take care of their families, to go out there, and if they got to do the dangerous jobs, they're going to do it. Why do they think that Americans are so damn scared and weak to do it? Oh, I'll tell you why. Because if you leave it up to the left, that's all they keep doing. They're feminizing the boys, and they're trying to empower the girls, knowing that they ain't got the power to do certain things that boys can do. And there is nothing wrong with that. Okay? We need to get it through our heads, everybody. Women are strong at some things than men, and vice versa. Okay? A man could go out there and freaking haul steel for 28 hours straight. Okay, and then drive home for 3 hours, stay up for an hour with his wife and the kids, and then go to bed, sleep for 4 hours, and get up and do it again. A woman cannot do that. But at the same time, a woman could carry a baby for 9 months. Okay? Something a man could never do. You see what I'm saying? But leave it up to the left to try to switch all that around and tell a woman, you can do that same steel job, but you're going to need a lot of breaks. And if they don't give it to you, they're misogynistic. Okay? And then tell a man, you don't need that job. It makes you too toxic. Go cut off some body parts, put on some makeup, and bam, you're a woman. Now go frolic. How about we do... A friend of mine told me, he lives out in Texas. He goes, situations like this is what the old timers in Texas say. Sometimes you just got to kiss it. And I said, what do you mean kiss it? He goes, keep it simple, stupid. Just keep it simple, stupid. It wasn't broke before. Why are you trying to change it now? You're saying a lot of people don't want these hard jobs. Up until the point that they started outsourcing car manufacturing to China and other countries, people in America were doing it. We were building some badass muscle cars, man. Okay? And why? It was pride. It was making good money. It was knowing that you could take care of your family, even now making $35 an hour is good wages. Back then, if you was making 20, sign of the times, that was great money. Okay? But leave it up to the leftists with all these excuses. Meanwhile, you got guys in the construction field right now that are salivating of the thought that if Trump could pass that bill that says no tax on overtime. You know why? Because now when they work 70, 80 hours a week, their checks are going to be fat ass. Because now all their hard labor will show. Let's finish this off, and let's finish this video so we can end it.
Economy, 38 workers a day died in the U.S. in 1970. Now the number is less than half that. There's also concern about the potential environmental impact.
Even if we're able to bring more manufacturing back to the States, our environmental laws are there for a reason, and it's to prevent what we saw at the turn of the 20th century with cities that were cloaked in smog, with rivers that caught on fire, with toxics leaking into our water supplies.
Other things that are different now. From America's post-war industrial age, union membership was more than a third of the workforce. Now it's about a tenth, and tax rates on the wealthy were above 70% in 1980, and now are about half that.
We are shedding excess labor in the federal government.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent telling Tucker Carlson that government employees losing their jobs now could work in factories.
That will give us the labor that we need for the new manufacturing.
Which brings us back to the memes. Will office workers really want to hit the factory floor? The industry saying bringing those jobs back will spur innovation and automation, leading to better manufacturing jobs.
If you talk to any person that runs a factory, that's a CEO of a company that produces in the US, they will tell you that innovation happens closest to the factory floor or on the factory floor. Are we going to have, new technologies making the processes better, more streamlined? Absolutely.
That's if the factories are built, the jobs are open, and the pay is good enough.
And it will be. They want to go and make it seem like, oh, you know what? Telling these people that worked in the office go get a factory job is something bad. But wait a minute. Wasn't it Biden? And you people could look it up. Here's a little Easter egg. Wasn't it Biden when he was asked a similar question? His answer was, then learn how to code. I mean, not for nothing, but all you office workers that think this is a bad thing, you might want to get a little bit of dirt under your nails to know what it's like next time you're sipping out of your coffee cup or you're sitting on that comfortable office chair. Or I don't know, you hire some two-bid handyman like me to go and paint your freaking movie theater room. Like I got into an argument one time with a doctor I'm going to watch what I say because I'm about to lose it. Who had the nerve to tell me, okay, through a conversation when I was speaking on the construction industry of how a lot of people don't make it, just the big construction company owners when they're hiring cheap labor, i.e. illegal immigrants and stuff like that. He came out and said that I should have made better choices in my work. And I was like, what do you mean? In other words, I should have never got into the construction field. So I had to think about that for a second because I was ready to just explode on him. But I looked at him and I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. That's because doctors and surgeons and nurses are all getting together to build your damn hospitals and clinics. Right? To build your beachfront property. To go and mow your golf lawns. Right? You guys are the ones doing it. Us little construction workers, us American construction workers, just because we don't make a ton of money, we're not regretting the job that we're in. We just want more recognition for what we're building. Okay? Meaning better pay and steady pay. That is the key thing. Steady pay. But you can't have that when you have people like Obama and Biden and the rest of them leaving the borders wide open, even though Obama, nobody wants to admit it, that he deported more illegals than Biden and President Trump. But when you have people like Biden and his regime, and you got all these big factories like that meat processing plant in Nebraska just hiring illegal migrants, what do you expect? Like, seriously, what the hell do you expect? Now, let me see this article right here. One more thing, we'll wrap it up. Just so you guys can know, getting back to what I said about the Latino community. Okay? And you better take heed to this. Let me see. I hope I didn't delete it. Hold on. Bear with me, people. If I did, I apologize. But anyway, they busted some business, okay, where there was, I believe, 39 illegals working. Okay, 34 of them were using stolen ID. Out of 39 of the people that were working at that I forgot what business it was. You guys can look it up. Out of the 39 illegal migrants that they busted, 34 of them were using stolen ID. So that means that all those people that they busted, we have to say, for all intents and purposes, that they were all Latin speaking, coming from Latin speaking countries. Their ID was stolen from other Latin Americans, American Latin people in America. Okay? And I'll give one bit of advice and we'll wrap it up. If there is a way to find out if you're Latino in America, and I'm sure this will pertain to other nationalities too, but right now in the Latin American community, okay, the American Latin community, if there's a way, if you could find out if your name and your ID has been stolen and it is being used, you need to find out. Don't end up like me with the sheriff's deputy knocking on the door, putting you in handcuffs, and then you got to try to find a way to prove your innocence because the other person that's rocking with them to arrest you is trying to tell them, we got our man. And thank God for the sheriff's deputy that looked at that person and said, this is not the guy you're looking for. Okay? Remember that. So, with that being said, that's what I got for you. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, pass the channel around. And if you can help support the channel, there's a link in my description to my Cash App and my merch store. So remember, people, stay vigilant. Keep praying for each other. Keep praying for the women and the children. Pray for this country. Pray for your family. Pray for your enemies. Pray for Donald Trump. And don't forget to pray for all the missing children that they brought across the border. Peace.